Hey there folks, what's up? How's it going? What are you up to? Please let me know in the comments down below. So you may want to sit down for this one, but I must inform you, this video is my first ever follow-up of any kind for a video I've made. Same subject, new info. How crazy, right? Don't shit yourself. The algorithm is going to go nuts for this one. More importantly, I felt the need to make a video as a lot of you all had quite a bit to say in the original Who's Next? I said to myself, well hey, give the people what they want and do another. So that's why we're here. You can catch the original linked below or on screen right there in the corner. In short, the video focuses on who's next on the species roster, or if humans ever vanish from the face of the earth. We mentioned apes, octopi, bees, and a few other of our animal-shaped friends, but after reading some comments, I think we have some things to touch on. Another major announcement, you probably watched an ad when you clicked on this video. I just got fully monetized, so pretty cool, right? You can support me by getting some merch, becoming a member, or even just liking and subscribing really helps me out. But enough shameless plugging. Also, if you watch those ads, that also really helps me out, but watching ads sucks, so maybe get a t-shirt? Starting with the animal who had reached the most public outcry, we will be kicking off this video with corvids. What the fuck are corvids though? Corvids are a grouping of birds that are made up of a series of traits like having a strong build, stout beaks, and overall just bigger than, I guess, a regular bird but smaller than eagles. Where they lack in size, a cool factor more than compensates. Some notable examples of these cool corvids would be ravens, metal, crows, metal, and blue jays. Kinda metal. There are more examples like magpies, but these are the big three, so to speak, and we'll pretty much just focus on ravens and crows. Now, what on earth would make people think that these particular variations of birds, no less, would go on to rule the world? Corvids spend a larger amount of time in their developmental stages with their parents, remaining nested for lengthier times. This gives them the chance to better learn survival skills. With these basic skills mastered at an early age, corvids are able to focus on less common and more unique skills like mimicry and higher communication, not telepathy. We touched on tool usage as being a huge determining factor in whether I placed them on the list of animals in the first video. I want to break away from that as a few comments pointed out that communication may be more of a key factor in evolution than tool usage, and I'm inclined to believe that too. In short, corvids walk and talk and use tools just like us. Instead of wrenches, you might find a crow using a stick. And instead of hammers, you might find a raven using a stick. We often try to create connections between an animal's intelligence with our own. This is often hard to accurately assess, but hey, it's fun to think about. Making statements like, an adult hippo has the intelligence of a 4-year-old. I made that one up, by the way, just an analogy. That'd be crazy if I was spot on with the money. We do that to corvids too. Some saying that corvids, crows specifically, are as smart as 7-year-olds, which if you haven't heard a lot of these age to intelligence analogies, then you should know, that's pretty high. How funny would it be to say, oh, this dog is as smart as a 37-year-old man who still lives in his parents' basements and forgot to pay last year's taxes? To add more weight to this statement, let's talk about corvid-based feats so we can accurately power scale them with the rest of the animals we've touched on previously. Crows specifically have been observed to use oncoming traffic to crack open nuts that normally the crows would struggle with. After some highway trail mix, a crow may build up a little thirst, and to solve this problem, crows have been observed filling containers with stones to raise water levels for a better sipping experience. Crows have been doing this little maneuver since ancient Greece, as documented in one of Aesop's fables, where a crow could not reach the water level of a vase and thus was seen dropping stones to raise said water level. Food and water aren't the only motivating factors in corvid life. Safety and interpersonal relationships are up there too. In 2011, two researchers at Washington University did a little experiment in which they would wear two masks, a danger mask and a neutral mask. Wearing the danger mask, the researchers would trap the crows along a designated route. 2 weeks following the initial trappings, the person walking the route with the danger mask would have a negative encounter with 26% of the crows. At 15 months, that number had increased to 30%, and after 3 years, 66% of the crows. This presents a lot of information to sift through and gives us a few examples on just how many of these skills we talked about corvids actually learning. So obviously, the crows communicate among each other. Not only that, they do it so well as to describe the appearance of a threat to the point of recognition to possible crows who had never even seen this mask. Additionally, it shows memory and social skills. 3 years later, and these corvids remembered that they had been wronged and who had done it. Not only that, they're willing to put their own crow self-interest, which I'm sure they have, aside to ensure the safety of their fellow crow kind. It may be a couple million years in the future that a crow sketch artist is the easiest job to have in the new crow world. But more importantly, what I see here is the blueprint for language. Sure, it was faces this time, but crows, as we'll talk about, can and do mimic human language. Who's to say they don't already include vocabulary into the crow's curriculum during these long nesting periods? We know they're picking up additional skills when staying in these nests longer. What if a spelling bee is on that agenda? To further put this in perspective, crows can determine certain human phrases elicit or stem from events, desires, etc. They can use context and their surroundings to pair these phrases with meaning. We as humans have no fucking clue what these birds are saying, but they sure know what we're saying to a degree. This skill could be selectively passed down to future generations that allow a broader range of communication to take place, leading back to that whole language blueprint I was talking about. Corvids are incredibly smart animals with a bright evolutionary future ahead of them, I hope. If I could change out any animals on my first list besides apes with these amazing creatures, I totally would. But hence, that's why we're making a sequel, goddammit. Continuing down the list, there's a few more contenders for our future animal overlords that really piqued my interest. One commenter pointed to the fact that before we were little human monkey things, we were little weasel rat things. How about that? Do you recognize this man? Well, you should, that's Grandpa. Now, I am aware evolution is a quote-unquote theory. Clearly, you making it into this video sort of gives away that you may buy into this whole thing, I don't know. I don't blame those who find evolution a hard-to-believe story. It is insane this little mouse thing is related to us in any way, especially when there are animals who look exactly like this running around with us. To my absolute surprise, I've met people who don't believe in evolution. Ain't that wild? Anyways, this little creature I'm showing you here is a Morganguncodon. This little shrew-looking critter more cute to a rodent than any ape or some of the first mammals, if not the first mammals to pop up. Roaming the Earth around 205 million years ago, these creatures were the best at what they did, which was probably doing what modern-day shrews do now, eat bugs and dig holes. Somehow, someway, through filling environmental niches, these little shrews would become us. They'd also become a lot of other things if you follow that blasphemous evolution thing, but the big picture here is us. We're special. We're better than everything. You give a mouse a cookie, he'll ask for some milk. You give a mouse 205 million years, he asks what the meaning of life is. What's the deal with that? Now keep in mind that reptiles didn't just start evolving into mammals one day, rather it was a lengthy process that often involved intramural species, so to speak, that possessed the features of both mammals and reptiles. One species may have less developed advanced jaw functions and structures like reptiles, but a four-chambered heart like mammals, making this distinction or classification a bit hazy. It'd be cool to speculate on if there could be another animal grouping besides mammals, reptiles, birds, amphibians, and fish popping up in the future. One approach to this little query would be the fictitious analog horror franchise Mystery Flesh Pit National Park. Of course, as hard as it is to imagine that squirrels or mice may turn into some sentient variant species 205 million years from now, it has happened. It may not even be anything remotely resembling humans, but some other non-existent classification of that species, sentience and all. Having taken a look at 205 million years ago, we recede further into the past, even further, because at one point, the first mammals looked as different to their ancestors as they do to us. The first life we can deduce to have existed are microbes. Where they came from, nobody knows. Could be a god, could be a fluke, an outside factor, but it's like, well, that doesn't really answer where it came from. Either way, we're here now and you're watching this video. We can determine that these microbes popped up around 3.5 to 4.1 billion years ago because of geological segmentations and the presence of carbon patterns left behind that just aren't present before when we suspected life to have occurred. P.S. Sorry if this is news, you're made of carbon. Everything alive we know about is, along with 11 other elements, however 6 of these comprise 99% of you. So why do I bring up microbes? Well, as we talked about, mammals didn't just pop up out of left field one day. They were originally other things. And those things were once other things, keep doing that, and boom, here we are, step 1. Microbe is sort of a blanket term to describe bacterium, algae, protozoa, and all the tiny stuff just generally crawling around everywhere, including inside you. Have fun with that. Even today's bacteria are coming out in new forms, sophisticated beyond what we suspect to have been the origin story of life. So in short, without getting too crazy, imagine a cell. Got it in your brain from 7th grade science? Oh, good, glad that retained. Now imagine you take away all the notable things like a central nucleus and, what's it called? The powerhouse of the cell, mitochondria? No, No, alas, whatever, who cares? Well, I forget it. If anyone can remember the powerhouse for these kooky little things, let me know down in the comments below. So take away the central nucleus in that one nameless organelle and you're left with this, bacteria 1.0, a prokaryote, as opposed to those cluttered eukaryote cells. Ugh, I get a headache just thinking about it. All that structure? If there was an atom, this boy is it. Say hi to Mega Great Grandpa. Look, you've even got his flagella. Simple, clean, efficient. These little guys are what we think first life forms looked like, but it could even be more simplified. Lipids and proteins are bioorganic in nature, and more importantly, the decentralized nuclei and cytoplasm of our prokaryote friends need something to hold it all together, and that is a wall of protein. Protein, though not alive as we determine, is essential to life. Now we can do this little dance on and on, reducing it down to atomic particles, but I won't because that's lame. Because even though we do have a pretty good idea of life and how it does what it does, we don't know how it starts. The fact that you're watching this video now is a universal anomaly. Life is so beautifully unique as it is soul-crushing and isolating. To be anything at all is terrifying because we're all there is. Better make an impact. It's just as hopeful to believe in a god of your choosing as it is to believe that this can turn into all these, because otherwise extinction just got a whole lot worse. With that said, how cool would it be to see like a chamber where you can speed up time on a 1/100 scale of Earth with minor differences to see the little dudes turn into a whole new stretch of creatures? That's right, just like we ended the last one by saying nothing, we're gonna end this time by saying everything under the sun could go on to be the next big super species. It was through sheer statistical anomaly we were the lucky or unlucky candidates selected for a once-in-a-multi-millennia opportunity. We weren't always the super intelligent beings we are today, and we were once on equal playing grounds of shrews or even bacteria. Never the strongest, fastest, or biggest, but something above all else, even in our shrew states, let us become something much more, above all the rest. Like a T-Rex probably didn't think about our closest ancestor at the time, a seemingly insignificant creature and one of the first primates being the inheritors of the planet. The next thing, if anything at all, lurks beneath the surface of our perception. It could be anything and in any way. From wolves to giraffes to bacteria again. Anything. Sadly, now it's time to wind down the show, but hey, don't be too sad. I've got quite the range of content. Feel free to browse that. If you fall in love with my stuff, show the whole wide world by giving this video a like and subscribe. Also, if you're looking for a good place to start, anything I've made in the last year is pretty good. Ignore my live streams. Those are, I don't know what those are. And ignore anything that was made like 2 years ago, I guess. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not my, I don't want you to get the wrong impression of my reflection. See my new stuff. See my greatest works. My greatest hits. Merch down below, and I'm glad that if I was ever going to make a follow-up, it was for this topic. Thank you everyone for the ideas, and peace out.